Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fridays at 4 on twitch.tv/DDO stream. I'm your community manager, Cordovan, and I've got a guest with me today, systems designer Torc. And thank you very much for joining me here, Torc. How you doing?
Doing pretty good, Jerry.
And you've had a busy week because the players have had a busy week because we've had a busy week, and that is we brought Eladrin and the Eladrin Chaosmancer to Lamania. We had a special live streamer and content creator and press preview on Monday, and then we opened it up to everyone else on Tuesday. And I understand Lamania may be coming down for the public about now if it hasn't already, but we're on Lamania, on our admin characters, to talk a little bit about the Eladrin, follow up some of your preview stuff, and the player, if you're listening to this and you've been on Lamania and have a burning question for Torc a little bit about the Eladrin or the Chaosmancer and really anything that you've seen on Lamania so far, we'll do our best to answer it. Some of it was done by Steel Star and others, so we'll probably try to focus on the things that Torc actually did. But at the same time, we'll do our best to answer your questions. I hope you enjoyed the preview this week. We're probably going to do more of this kind of thing on these content creator press previews in the future. I don't think we have one set for the rest of Myth and Draenor here, but I'm sure in the future we'll have more of it, because it's kind of a nice little hype train to get some things going, get some public participation, drum up a little press, and say thank you to all the content creators who, let's be real, generally put in lots of hours for, I don't even know, if you get paid, it ain't much, except for a few people. But for the most part, streamers are doing this because they like the game, they like their audience, they like the community, and that's all fun. So the big question I know, Johnny Hunt, is when exactly is the pre-purchase? And that is the one question I cannot answer for you today. We're real close. We're real close. So stay tuned. We'll have more information in the very near future that'll have a lot more detail about the when, the where, the how much, and all the rest about Myth Draenor. But today we're here to talk about the Eladrin and the Eladrin Chaosmancer. So I'm in character generation right now on Lamania, and this will be an admin character just so that we can push whatever buttons we need to push. But I wanted to go through CareGen just a little bit to really get into some of the visuals and the basics and talk a little bit about kind of what's happening with the Eladrin. Let me drop in chat here a forum thread. And this forum thread is right here. If you want to follow along, play the home game, this is the forum thread for the Eladrin. And when we get to it, we've got one for Chaosmancer as well that I can drop into chat. These are some of the threads you might want to call up if you've got some questions about how the trees work and what have you. Eladrin, though, brand new race coming to Dungeons & Dragons Online with Myth Draenor. A Feywild denizen attuned to seasonal magic, fey creatures in the form of elves. They're an elemental generalist, great at most forms of combat, and they can specialize into seasonal abilities to further customize their combat prowess. They're a wild mage sorcerer, and I understand, Torc, you were pretty instrumental in the wild magic system here coming to Myth Draenor, so let's maybe start there. What makes the Eladrin different from a typical sorcerer, and what the heck is wild magic?
Okay, so wild magic dates way back to, I believe, 2nd edition D&D, if not all the way back to 1st edition Advanced. It came about in the Forgotten Realms. It's often been associated with Myth Draenor, because it came out with like some of the original modules back in the day. And it is basically it's a system where when you cast a spell, there is a random roll using those D100s, like the treasure table, and you get a random magical effect that gets thrown on top of your spell effect, whatever happens. And they can be anywhere from funny, annoying, tragic, hilarious, powerful. They run the spectrum. It's really about being random and unexpected.
So it must be somewhat of a challenge to create what amounts to a random effect system for a game which doesn't have the benefit of being just pure imagination based, right? You think about tabletop D&D, wild magic, you could turn into a cat, you could fly off in this, you could do anything, whatever the DM wants, essentially. Although there is a table, even in the most of the rule sets there.
Yep.
How do we figure it out for DDO?
I mean, we did, we looked at the tables to start with. We picked a bunch of stuff. Though we quickly had to do a bunch of kind of overall design rules by the fact that we are an MMO in the multiplayer game. Due to the the to basically deal with the social interaction issues of such a system, we basically had to say like no surge could ever if you cast a spell and you create a surge, that surge cannot create a detrimental effect to anyone else, because otherwise like shenanigans will occur. Um, uh, but after that, structurally, we kind of like we didn't want it to become like another just damage effect on the list of random damage effects. Like we already had Shiradi's Mantle, and we have lots of damage procs, so we didn't actually focus a lot on damage. We wanted to do a lot more situational stuff, like environmental or create an object, or modify your play experience. So like there's a lot of debuff duration stuff in there. And we also want to do visual things, like in fact, a lot of the searches are nothing but visual things. Like noir reality, where like everything goes black and white, and you feel slightly hard boiled if you bother to read the tooltip. Things like that. Fireworks. Butterflies. But of course, there's like the powerful stuff where like all the monsters around you die, and all your party members who happen to be dead get resurrected. That's like rolling a 100 on the table. And inversely, like rolling a 1 on the table. One of the design rules on the bad surges is we never wanted to kill you outright. We always wanted to just put you in peril.
Yes.
We could turn you into a rat, and even on the bad surges, we wanted to like kind of give you an edge or a mechanic. So like the rat has like a 50% dodge bonus and like 25%, 25 bonus to reflex saves. So you're trying to stay alive as this rat, and we're like, we'll give you a little bit of edge, but like, yeah, we turned you into a rat. It's not great. But mostly it's about fun and random, and really unexpected results. And there we would have we'll probably try to add some more searches to the table, but we did like 50 effects for this opening offering, and I could see us maybe trying to push to 100 over time, see how it goes.
We had talked a little bit about the ability to negate the downsides, and I know some players are like, well, okay. I mean, it's cool that it's good or neutral only, and it's relatively easy to get into that position, but doesn't it just sort of negate all those negative effects? Negative effects?
That's what the power of chaos is for. It's sort of like all right, so it's about our build meta and kind of what you want to opt into. So like the Wild Mage lets you mitigate it, and the Eladrin Chaosmancer also lets you mitigate it. So you kind of have two options. You can be like, I want a multi-class sorcerer to get wild magic and to mitigate it, or I could go into the Eladrin and use the racial tree to get wild magic and mitigate it.
Yep.
And the sorcerer has an extra fairly powerful toggle that says like, well, we're gonna like give you two caster level max caster levels, which early on that can be like extremely powerful if you're like level 4, like so it's like a 50% increase to your caster levels. I think it's still pretty decent even at top level max caster levels, or a nice power boost. But you have to deal with the bad surges. Of course, there are some other bonuses which the iconic Eladrin have to like throw a slight bonus on your roll, but that bonus is a random roll in of itself, so there's no guarantee. Like you can never like get a bonus so high you'll never be able to rule out bad surges, even if you're using the toggle. It's like it's a system of pros and cons that interact with our build meta, and where I want to spend my action points, how I want, what class levels I want to take, what race I want to be, and they, the players can play around with it and, try to get what they want out of it to pursue their goals, or
How often do you think people are going to run into wild magic? Is it maybe fairly regularly during combat, maybe a couple times per dungeon? Do you have any sort of goal there?
If they are a wild mage and they have it enabled, or typically like you should see at least one surge of combat. We iterated on that a little bit. So like the initial preview one, it was pretty much like one surge. There was a fairly extensive cooldown. Maybe you could get two surges if you like walked into a fight with the surge on, fired the surge, and then like the fight went a little long. But the on cast in preview one, the on cast was not working yet. And we had to do a bunch of structural changes to deal with like persistent effects doing weird things. So the second preview is it's a bit more easy or likely, especially if you're casting frequently. Like a warlock with wild magic enabled will probably generate two surges on average a fight, and a fight can be pretty short in a game. I'm thinking like 6 to 10 seconds.
Yeah.
They could probably generate two surges in a fight if they're going fast, and any caster can do that if they're just I'm only using the warlock as an example because they literally just have to hold out auto attack and it happens. Yeah, and that's we'll see how feedback is. It might be possible that players want the surges to be less. We talked about remapping some of the bonuses to how often you surge, to bonuses to how good your surges are, and that's still like something we could potentially calibrate. Preview is one thing. When it goes live, that's really when we find out what's going to happen. So
sure.
Yeah,
As it goes,
we'll keep an eye on it. Basically, like if people are having fun, it's going to pretty much stick around. If people are like it's a little spammy, we'll adjust. And if it's like it's not spammy enough, we'll adjust.
Yeah. Saba Jade, who was a part of Monday's preview, thank you, Saba, for doing that, has a question, which is it true that surges don't affect the party, or is it just the negative surges that don't affect the party?
Just the negative surges. There's actually a lot of very positive surges that will affect the party. Like you could be resurrected by a surge, you could get a 95% damage reduction force bubble, you could get mass regeneration effect. There's a lot of positive. There are a lot of party-friendly surges in the good charts.
Okay, all right. Well, let's start going through these charts here a little bit. Probably the first one, maybe we should go through the racial enhancement tree for Eladrin. This is Eladrin are a form of elves. And what can you say a little bit about our focus for the racial enhancement tree there?
So on base Eladrin, these guys are meant to be generalists that are not caster specialists, just because the iconic Eladrin was such a caster specialist tree. And we basically want people. Basically, like Eladrins are, if you haven't noticed, they look great, and it's like so we want to kind of maximize the potential of you playing one. But like it can be very hard to build a tree that is like that literally fits every build in DDO. So we kind of put a lot of the caster focus on the iconic, and everything else is on the basic Eladrin. And no, you could run a basic Eladrin as a caster if you wanted to. There are some perks. They're kind of but they're kind of a generalist. So they have the 4 seasons. Now, technically, most of these bonuses will just work, but there are a few little extra perks which are attached to the attunement, which is a toggle that that both Eladrin have that basically say, I'm in this season. I'm like, I have taken on a winter affinity, or I've taken on an affinity with summer. And where that is really impactful is the phase step. Eladrin actually have this very front-loaded, powerful ability called Phase Step, which is right in Tier 1, which is it's an abundant step-like ability. You leap forward, a lot of mobility, and it gives you a powerful buff that lasts 10 seconds. But it is a charged ability where you only get so many charges. You can pretty quickly get to 5 charges if you take it in the early tree. So 5 charges per rest. When that's when you like kind of intensify that seasonal effect. So if you're winter and you phase step, you'll actually you'll start emitting like cold frost, and autumn will give off leaves and fire will give off etc. The buff is and they're Jerry's got the buff up now, and these are meant to be like a pretty impactful buff effect. So,
Spring
like,
gives you a significant dodge bonus in addition
yeah,
to other things. +3 weapon bonus damage for summer, sneak attack for autumn, and tactics DCs for winter. And
yeah,
you can
and
do
those
all
will,
4 of these. It's not like, say, maybe Druid, where you're picking from a couple of them and that you're assigning to your character. You can swap back and forth between these seasons largely at will with a little cooldown.
yeah, 12 seconds. So it's
Yeah.
not easy to do in a fight, though I guess technically you could start in a season, fire off your thing, and then switch your season if you wanted to. But it is. But I think that you definitely could switch seasons for like I know this particular encounter and I really want this trick for
Yeah.
this fight. You absolutely could do that.
And as you see here, you could just add straight up charges of Face Step with a Tier 1 enhancement here up to, 3 points or 3 points total. So plus 1, 2, 3 charges of Face Step per rest.
Yeah.
So when I look at the core trees, I see a percentage bonus to hit with attacks. So
Yes.
there is some thought that the Eladrin can also be a perfectly capable melee, maybe ranged attacker, things like that.
Oh yeah, the base Eladrin is a great weapon user.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a lot of weapon based stats.
Yep. And that's part of what we're seeing here. Also, a pretty high dodge chance as well.
Yeah, well, you gotta stay alive to use that weapon.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess just kind of going through the tree, like you were saying, there's more sneak attack hits, plus more 2-hit damage, a little bit of PRR, MRR based on, I'm seeing Winter Attunement in this one.
Yep.
I don't know how much it's worth going further through the tree. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
We could talk about the SLAs a little bit, which got like we've changed them since was on preview 2 already. After feedback, I've posted what those are. The SLAs, you can while it's a kind of expensive in the points to do it, you can collect all of these SLAs, and they're basically meant to be the kind of utility spells, like a lot of builds like Night Shield is like, you really want to have something that protects you against magic missiles because the force damage could be very nasty. The Blur got bumped up to Displacement, which is often coveted by anyone who gets into the thick of things. Long Strider got changed into Fire Shield Hot because just getting that big chunk of resistance against fire damage, or cold damage in this case. It's just nice, just that 50% chunk on the shield effects. It can be very handy in certain content. And the damage, early on, the damage proc is not, it's not great, but it adds on to the stack. Mostly you're trying to not just get hit though. And then Vigor is just lesser Vigor got bumped to Vigor, which is just a touch up heal.
You did not. You're not in charge of the Wild Mage enhancement tree. That was Steel Star, as I understand it. That did the Wild Mage tree specifically. So I don't want to grill you too much on it. Do you have anything, I guess, though, you might want to say in general a little bit about Wild Mage, the enhancement tree?
It pretty much. It's got a lot to offer. Like you can control the mild magic surges. It does chaos damage. It basically builds out a chaos blaster build in our game, and it's honestly like a very good support tree for just an elemental savant. All the elemental savant trees are still available to Wild Mage, so you can build a very it's got a little. It basically compared to if you wanted to be a fire savant compared to your pre-alternates before, Wild Mage actually is a good support tree to kind of give you a little extra power. Also gives you an off damage type that not a lot of things are resistant to kind of rely on until you get to your Fire Pen Curse, which can be a long time coming.
Yep.
So it's got a lot to offer.
And honestly, the chaos spell power. We're doing this more than we've ever done before, as far as I'm aware, right?
This is the first kill things with chaos.
Yeah.
There are some of the spells have existed, but we haven't really we built out a whole damage line pretty much. It has the bolt. It's got a fireball equivalent. It's got a hard single target strike with wild strike in tier 5, and it has a level 9 equivalent. You get to the 6 core, like the level 9 big boom AoE spell.
We missed an opportunity to name Prismatic Mine Hypercolor Spray.
We did miss that opportunity.
Yes.
Of course.
1980s, 90s joke there, I guess.
Yep.
All right. Let me swap then over a little bit to the iconic, unless there's more specifically about the Eladrin that we should mention. I guess one of the questions that's come up on the forums is, why do we go with Dex? What's with it being a racial Dex trait?
Well, I mean, honestly, it's out of the book, and they are L's, which people have commented on. Um, in terms of, I have a feeling though, like a lot of these stat modifiers on I think this is not going to be an issue much longer. We're kind of looking at like, frankly, just letting you pick your stat mod. That's kind of like a long-term thing that we'd like to get to.
Yeah.
But for the most part, these decisions are just based off what are the book, because this is D&D, and this is kind of what we're just kind of matching the expectations of like, I love D&D. I'm playing pen and paper, and this matches up. We did do an exception with the Iconic Eladrin, where we decided to switch them over to Charisma, because the Iconics are kind of really their own thing, and it really was, kind of what the Iconics do is they're kind of a combination of a class and a race. So we did switch them over to Charisma.
Belgorod has a question. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, so go ahead.
Yeah.
What do you got?
Belgorod has a question about, will the surges happen on every cast, even by a non-wild mage? Can you avoid wild magic together, say in a Mythdrain request?
Oh, yes. So, I mean, currently, I can't speak to every single piece of content at this point, because it's still in development. But for the most part, wild magic has been built out to be deployed by volumes, which actually are very visually pronounced. That, like, it's basically you're looking at a rainbow field. So you will see them, and you can opt to stand in them or not stand in them based on the situation. They're environmental hazards, so that they're basically going to be, it's like we place pools of lava and acid, and light gravity fields, and like we place things in content. So the content designers will basically decide. And we've actually also built in the ability that you can have good luck wild magic zones and bad luck wild magic zones, where they've been slighted on what they'll do. And that's just that's a tool we've just given to the content designers. So it's up to them what they're going to do with it. But I would anticipate most wild magic will be avoidable or attached to some kind of mechanic that is part of the quest flow.
How do you deal with something like magic missile? Is it per missile or just the one spell the first time, essentially?
So due to the effect shenanigans we dealt with when we used it on effect system, which basically meant like wild magic could do really weird things. Like I cast a wall of fire, I run off, someone hits the wall of fire, I procs a surge, I suddenly surge. All that stuff we decided. So we decided we didn't want to do it there. We are now doing it on the cast animation. That is when the logic runs. So when you cast a spell, that is when we are deciding if you're surging. So this is basically now spell agnostic. It does not care what spell you're casting. It doesn't care if you're firing 5 projectiles, or you're casting wall of fire, or you're casting like bark skin. It does not care. It just cares if you cast a spell. All spells operate the same. There is one exception to this, which I included in the notes, and that is while Warlock Blasts count as a cast, they do not proc wild magic unless you are in combat. Okay. We made that exception just because they're free, and we thought like it would not be just great performatively or noise-wise that a Warlock was like, I can hold down the button and surge indefinitely.
Yeah, don't enter the room yet until I get the surge I want, kind of a thing.
Right. So we didn't want to like, like technically if you roll really lucky, you can resurrect your dead party member. So it's like, hold on, man. And like the Warlock is like, anytime now. Yep. Butterflies, free beer, things happen. I turn to stone.
Yep.
Anytime now, you're gonna resurrect.
So I guess what we're saying is wild magic is part of the archetype. It's part of that enhancement tree. It's part of the Eladrin, an Eladrin Chaosmancer. It's part of Mythdraenor in general. So even say your gnome warlock is gonna have the potential to experience wild magic when in a wild magic zone in the content, rather than say as part of a class feature. It's both.
Yeah, it's both an environmental effect and a class feature.
Yep. Same table for every level? Question mark. Do the wild magic surges change based on character level or class level?
We tried to make most of the I think there were one or two wrinkles in there, but we tried to make everything fairly level agnostic. We did a lot of percentage modifiers and things like that, or we just kind of, if they were beneficial, we just left it. So like a level one surge, getting a beneficial surge might be extra hot at low levels because you don't have access to that kind of stuff yet.
Yeah.
But even our high level spells actually scale with level, scale at a better curve. They do scale with level.
What about things like healing auras that tick over time? How's that impact? How does that deal with wild magic?
So again, like this was in the Lamania notes. We did not want, we had too many issues with auras ticking wild magic, but we did make one exception, which is the Warlock aura in Enlightened Spirit, because it is a blast shape. That is the only aura effect that will tick, but it will only tick if it's actually if you are in combat against an enemy. You are actually doing damage to an enemy. And that is the only exception. If you are using Death Aura as a Pale Master, when you cast Death Aura, that can surge, but every tick after that will not check the surge system.
Okay. Isn't there a squirrel in the
There
wild
is
magic?
squirrels.
So you could cast Death Aura and have a Death Squirrel.
Yes, I think what will happen is it'll create two squirrels who will immediately die to your Death Aura.
Oh no! Oh no!
Yeah, I think the squirrels are kind of I think they're wild. I think anything can kill them. So it's they're very it's not great to be conjured. It's not a great hand to be drawn if you're something conjured into existence by a wild mage in the middle of a firefight as a squirrel. It's really a bug deal.
So let's turn to the Chaosmancer. This is the iconic that'll be arriving here with Myth-Draenor. So, starts at level 15. You don't have to take all the way up to 15, but you'll get enough XP to be level 15. And it works basically like all the other iconics. It is a one level of sorcerer specifically, wild mage sorcerer specifically. And I think part of the reason that matters is there are various wild mage tree effects that are impacted by specifically the amount of wild mage class levels that you have, if I recall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Though there's one thing very important to note about the Eladrin Chaosmancer is that wild magic is baked into the race. Like that particular Eladrin, wild magic is on always. Even if you reincarnate it out that once wild mage sorcerer level, that you will still have wild magic.
Okay.
And that's a feature of the iconic Eladrin. In case you want to do a wild magic build with something else entirely without the wild mage sorcerer level at all. And within the tree there is chaos control. Admittedly, chaos control 2 is a bit further up in the tree than it is if you're a wild mage. But you have those you have access to opt out of bad and very bad surges if you want to.
I see Nimvind in chat, and I remember Nimvind had asked me a question that I wasn't really in a good place to answer when I was visited his stream there on Monday, and that is there is at least one duplicated benefit in Wild Mage and the Eladrin Chaosmancer. Maybe that's the one that we're specifically talking about. Is that just a Lamania thing, or is that by design?
I'm sorry. Are we talking about chaos controls between Wild Mage?
I think so. Maybe I actually know that. Nimvind's in chat, or at least was Nimvind. Yeah, that's the one. Okay, yeah, so it is the chaos control. Yep.
Yeah. So they anti-wreck each other. You can't have them both. That's just so you don't waste your action points. But effectively, they do exactly the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So Eladrin Chaosmancer, you can see in these core trees here, whereas the Eladrin has generally 2%, if I recall, 2-hit bonus in every alternate tree. This one focuses specifically on mitigating the negatives and greater chance of getting the good and very good ones there. So otherwise, it's a standard Dex, Intelligence, Charisma from 2 and 4.
Yeah, if you actually train one of those, go ahead and train one. and then go to the plus panel in your character sheet.
Okay.
After you hit accept.
I did just create this character before the show, so it's a little.
It's okay. Yep. So click on the plus panel and go to the caster section. Okay. The little plus extra stats info.
This one.
And go to spellcasting.
Yep.
Yep. Click on that and scroll down.
Yep. Wild search.
So but you also have. That's interesting. Your luck bonus and update.
I haven't accepted it yet.
Oh, you have to accept. Okay, so accept and they'll do that.
Yeah.
So those are the wild those are the two stats we added for wild magic. One shows your proc rate when you cast spells, so you can track. That lets you track all the bonuses you claim the trees to make sure they're working. And the same thing with the luck modifiers, which the iconic Eladrin provide, which that is a bonus random roll range to the table roll. And the table roll it is like a 1 to 100 kind of thing. It looks like a D&D table behind the scenes. So like. If you're with all the good stuff at the high end and all the bad stuff at the low end. So, like, if you have like a 6 luck modifier, you'll roll like a D6 that you'll add to that 1 to 100 roll. Like, I wish we could roll dice, but it was let. It would have been too much.
The big question: 2D10 or one of those big weird 100 globe things that's got like all sorts of little round bits on it.
Yeah.
All right. So let's maybe move into tier 1 here on the Chaosmancer. Let me move this tree up slightly so that I'm not hiding any text with my camera. We have an auto search check that's in tier 1 of the Chaosmancer. I imagine that's the base 30 to search. Is that correct? Similar to what we've done in other kind of automatic search checks for like secret doors and traps.
Yes, in terms of that, that's the elf. That's literally the same thing as the elf thing that all the elves are doing.
Okay,
they're doing that. Like, I have extra keen senses.
Very bad wild magic surges shift to just bad for you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And again, this has the arcane phase step as well, which is a little different.
Yeah, so the phase step for the iconic Eladrin has completely different effects, and they are caster focused as opposed to kind of general melee defense, which the base Eladrin had.
Yep. So you get a 20% bonus to spell cost reduction, which is kind of a way of saying it'll cost you 20% less.
Yes.
So you get a +5 bonus to MRR and your MRR cap, +1 per character level. Per 10 seconds, and winter will be a +2 for spell penetration with an additional +1 per 5. And these are just character level, not specifically wild mage or something like that. So it's just straight up character level.
That's true. Yes, yeah. As a racial tree, everything is character level based.
Okay.
And the fact that the 3 of them is a bug in the preview.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was like, what is going on there?
As a known issue.
Yeah, all right, no problem.
It has been fixed.
A little bit of a spell power in tier 2 here. Spell points, spell penetration. Acid and poison spell power, additional for being in one of the affinities. We move up to tier 3. Reduction on your quicken cost. A little bit of charisma for being in spring. Same with maximize. While you have 100 or more spell points for Fey Sight, you can see things as they truly are. You're able to see invisible creatures and pierce illusions. Is that essentially as long as you have 100 spell points, you've got free true seeing, or does it work a little differently than that? Okay.
No, that's pretty much what you're reading it correctly. That is in a lot of that's a elf ability that's in a lot of the elf trees.
Okay.
They are elves.
And then heighten for tier 4 now, or tier 3. Now let's move up to the tier 4 here with an SLA of Spring Storm.
Yep, we got a storm cloud for this one. It's pretty nice. You could actually, like, I don't know if you want to train it and blast something.
Yeah, I think I need to. I think I need
to.
Let me unlock my way up there, and I'm just going to hit buttons and see what happens. So don't worry if I'm picking the wrong thing, as it were.
So you will have to. The iconic does have the limitation is that to use the SLA, you have to be in the correct that affinity. So you're going to have to turn on
spring.
In this spring case. Affinity.
Okay. No problem. I can do that. I just got these set up here. So there's a spring.
That limitation is not on the base Eladrin. Base Eladrin is more a la carte.
Where does that? Oh, it'll be
It's
under
an enhancement.
Enhancement, right? Yes.
Yep. So many toggles. There you go.
Yep.
There you go. But you'll have to go into feats to get the aura, to get the attunement if you haven't gotten it already.
I do. I have the spring affinity up there.
Okay. I'm cutting off. My head is in the way of my view of your action bar.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. So there is the storm cloud for the DPS test.
Yep.
Just saw a little spring storm above it. And
Yep.
that could be on cooldown in a second. All right. So our major influence was the Peanuts cartoon with that guy with the little cloud over his head. So
we got it. Like we had this storm cloud for a variety of reasons, and we did the wild surge where you have personal bad weather, which reminded me of a Pink Panther cartoon I saw as a kid.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. Was it Pink Panther? Maybe I've got my sources incorrect there. All right.
But the So what's interesting about these is they are elemental vulnerability strips. They're basically they're level 2 in power. They're basically kind of like the scorch ability you get in the thieving tree in terms of like the damage they do, but they have an elemental strip baked in, which means they have the iconic Eladrin. It's very enticing for builds that want to get an elemental strip somehow because they want to totally focus on one type of elemental damage. Of course, like. To get that, you have to bring in the wild magic, which the tree can mitigate. But it's kind of like that's basically what you're getting when you're getting them too.
All right, let me just real quick change trees. So now I'm going to be in summer, and so the summer is the scorching summer one.
Yeah.
Just kind of show that off. Sort of fire.
I'm going to answer this question about the arcane archer tree. This thematic as the arcane archer tree would be like there is a lot going on with the Eladrin already, and we do want to leave some things to the the other races that it is like that's where you go to get that. We were basically trying to do different things with the Eladrin, so we didn't want to like. We didn't want to like throw the big carrots from the previous races into that tree.
Okay. There is a brief cooldown to change seasons. I think we had stated something like 12 seconds. Is that right?
Yeah. It's basically like it's not you can't like it's not easy to do in the middle of a fight. You can't like rotate through all the seasons, but it's still flexible, fairly flexible, where you could switch definitely between encounters or in a long fight if you really needed to.
Okay. Veni Vidi Whoopsie wants wisdom. We ultimately had to make some choices in terms of what stats could be supported in the tree, and it sounds like maybe we just wisdom did not make the cut, as it were.
Is it you're talking about? What the
yeah, someone was saying, I guess any reason why wisdom isn't able to be taken, and I'm assuming that might be relative to the enhancement tree here.
I actually thought. No, you want to go to the bottom.
Yeah, there we go.
Like the core. You want to go to the cores.
Yeah, I actually already took it.
So you actually have to untrain. You have to untrain the cores to see the picks. But I actually thought it was doing Dex and. I think it's doing Dex and Charisma. It's only doing 3.
Yeah. All right, sorry. Let me real quick cut out my source.
Yeah, it's already kind of very versatile. There wasn't a there's a point where like you feel like you have to stop because like if you make it do everything, it does everything, and like it's not everything is supposed to do everything.
Yeah.
You want Dex instead of Wisdom. Yes, potentially we could do that. One of the things that we had to pull back on is we are going to make all of the SLAs in the Wild Mage tree work with Wiz and Charisma, but because those spells are also in the spell book, we hit a technical snafu. So we had to pull back on that. We might get that working. We might go back there. But we have to, let's say, we're kind of working around the technical problem. So kind of like pushing the iconic Chaosmancer to be as we do have a desire to try to make that free caster friendly to a large variety of caster builds. So we may revisit that Dex to Wisdom, but it is kind of tied into like also like what we're trying to do with some of the other spells.
Okay. I feel like we have probably covered given the kind of Cliff Notes version of a lot of the preview here today. Were you involved in creating the hireling?
Yeah, the hireling. I typically do the hireling.
Do you know where I can get the hireling on Lamania?
You're walking right towards it. Take a left, or go around this guy on the table. Nope.
Oh, the table.
Nope. Turn around.
That table. Okay.
Look at the green. Yeah. Okay. So you see the table behind the guy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and
right
there's
there.
the flying carpet. Okay.
You get a flying carpet. You get. I put him on this table every time. Like this is the table for that. So I just update this table.
Okay.
So that's always the.
Oops. Let me.
Like Leafheart, yes. Leafheart is technically not our first bow using hireling, but is a bit of a rarity. We still I still have some kinks to work out of the AI.
Yeah.
But she's pretty good if you put her on aggressive at just pumping that bow. So it's a lot of free damage at range, and
I have forgotten all of the hirelings we've done. Have we done a ranged hireling before?
we don't do them. That we have. So we have in terms of a premium hireling. We have not really done a ranged one. No, this is the first ranged one we've done.
Yeah.
And we don't really do a lot of archers in general. We have a bunch of boom casters.
Yeah, like Larafay, and I know that I like a cleric that tends to like their Searing Light. So it's not like there are no ranged attacks, but specifically kind of bow archer style is new.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, even if you use the level 14, oh god, you're gonna fail this quest. You can't do it.
I am only here to show the character, and honestly, the light's not great, but we'll do the best I can. So yeah.
So we'll go into the dark dungeon that you will fail if you kill too many kobolds and trigger happy henchmen. Yes.
Yes, we're not going to be questing with Aaron and Stealthy Repo. It's just the shortest one command line way I can get inside of an instance space that I'm used to. So let's take a look. Let me move this up kind of in the screen so we can go over this a little bit. The hotbard options are True Sing, which can be cast both on the hireling in addition to yourself with a 20-minute duration, which is not too tiny. Cure critical wounds, so there is a heal me, Greater Vigor Mass, and Reincarnate. So there you go. Yep.
Yes, you're dead.
Yep.
And that Warlock trying to spike a surge just isn't cutting it for you.
Also, look at that bow. What kind of bow is that?
It's a player bow of about that, like, is the kind of, I can't remember the bow, but it's like when we make these henchmen, we're like, what would a player be wearing at this level? Like, what would they be using? We actually, like, a lot of these henchmen actually have gear equipped. We don't like completely kit them out, but we often put like a few choice items for what like an adventurer would be wearing.
Okay. All right.
I think it has Ghost Touch. That's what I remember about it. It might be the bow you get from the Halloween event.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, I didn't immediately recognize it, but I have to be honest, I'm not a super bow user in general, so I'm not really the right person to know every bow in the game. Spectral Longbow. Yes, so that would in fact put it at Maybar. So,
yep.
Or Night Revels. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you can, if you go do a quest and put her on aggressive, especially in the harbor, she'll know everything.
Yeah.
Nice.
You know what? Let's. I know just the right quest for this. Let's go into Kobold Assault. That's a nice, good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Leafheart versus Kobold Assault.
Yeah.
I think my money's on Leafheart.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Level 14 and 32, 34? Which one is that? Do you remember?
You're right. It was this quest giver.
Yeah. No, the level on the hireling is what I was thinking.
Oh, yeah. It's 14 and 34.
Okay. Yes.
We might tweak the level range the contracts can be used slightly, but Yeah, you cannot have that run speed. The server will break if you all have that run speed.
Yeah, I know. Only I can break the server. It's okay if I do it. No, it isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually do it under controlled conditions like this. So. All right. Go.
Well, one down. So you could see there's a kill count. Okay, so four.
Maybe I could have actually put some kind of weapon equipped. I literally created this character before I went live on the air, so I'm a little on the.
Now I'm wishing I roped Flame Strike into her thing. I figured it would be just like a waste of spell points. I didn't do it.
Yep. I'll bring him over. There we go.
Yeah, she seems to localize the threats. I'll have to look a little bit. Like as I say, we're still ironing out the kinks with the range model because it's new territory.
Yep. Well,
it is.
It is in fact. Aaron is in fact getting the job done, so that's nice. We'll just leave this on in the background just for a couple minutes here while we take a look at chat. We're getting pretty close, I think, to saying goodbye to you, Torc, here for the day, but I wanted to give the community a chance to. Any last questions you got? We'd be happy to ask and see what we can do. Do you have a hit list, as it were, for the near future in terms of feedback from Lamania or other things? I know you talked a little bit about some of the work you did on the forums today, about some of the work from this last Lamania.
I already posted it, which was, so it's basically Epic Pit. When am I doing the Epic Pit? It's a good question.
When we make you.
I mean, we amplify stuff, it happens. Okay, general questions. Sweet. We'd love to make hirelings level with you. That's just a big involved system. So it's a big ticket thing that, there have been discussions. One of these days we might do an amazing new hireling system, but not yet. I feel like there's a question I was about to answer and I forgot what it was.
We will look at that flying carpet here in just a little bit here. I think we'll wrap up the show with that one in addition to a couple other little bits.
Yeah. Okay. I've been doing whatever. Okay. Yeah, I think. If there are any more, I'll field any more questions if they got them. But otherwise,
yeah, I think we'll call it there then with you, Torc. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, out of a busy work week that I know that we've been getting ready for this preview and getting ready for the actual pre-purchase start of Myth Draenor as well. And so you got a lot of work ahead of you. We will be having more previews of Myth Draenor in the future, and pretty soon you as a player will be able to play this stuff online, and we'll have more information about that here real soon as well. So thank you so much, Torc, for joining me here today.
Thanks, guys. Till next time.
Yep. All right. Before I call it, let's do that real quick. I wanted to let's look at this flying carpet. Thayan flying carpet mount. That might perhaps give you a little bit of a clue as to a little bit of what might be going on here in the near future. Hint, hint. So there we go. The Thayan hoverboard. All right. What else should I mention? Let's get back on that. Hoverboard. Okay, a couple other things here real quick then before I call it. So, a bit of news that I didn't get to yet. I want to make sure I do get that up on the screen. All right. Sorry, XSplit is being a little hangy on me at the moment. And there we are. I did want to call out that time is running out to speak to Zathrall and the Eberron Hall of Heroes. You do still have several weeks yet, but you have through June 25th to pick up the Groundbound Green Dragon mount. It was awesome to see Chonkfest 2024 last week, and it's been a lot of fun, and we've been getting generally positive feedback on this mount. I think people who enjoy the Groundbound Green Dragon mount particularly enjoy it, and that's been really exciting to hear. But you can get this for free right now by speaking to Zathrall and the Eberron Hall of Heroes on Live. Next bit I wanted to mention is our bonus for the weekend. That is a 20% Guild Renown boost, and that's happening through Sunday. I wanted to call out that we have a special sale that's happening, and I will get to the question that someone had. Let me actually do a quick Google search. I will make sure to, I'm actually going to go into our web software here as soon as I'm done with this show, and I'm going to bump this article up to the top of the page just to help those out who might want to read more. And that is our summer sales kicked off this week. So we've got 5 weeks of sales, each one lasting a week long, each one being a special item or items through July 11th. So this week through June 13th, we've got 35% off all tiers of the Mechanized Patron Coffer. If you missed the Mechanized Patron Coffer and want to learn more about what's in it, we do have an article on DDO.com. A quick Google search will find it for you. But I'll also bump it up to the top of the page here in just a second. And let me do that again. But this is the Mechanized Patron Coffer. This is the one that came out very start of the year here. You can see some screenshots about what it all contains, but it does have character bank storage, shared account bank storage, the Warforged Pseudo-Dragon Creature Companion, full cosmetic set, weapon aura, and a Warforged mount. That's this golden thing. This is the Greater Coffer, which has a lesser selection of the Superior, and then we've got the regular Mechanized Coffer, which is a limited selection of the Greater as well. And we've got some screenshots up on it, including some notes, basically saying that you can get a total of 20 additional character bank, 30 additional shared account bank. So if you try to buy all the tiers, you can buy up. There's no discounts, but you won't get you'll get the difference in bank space rather than, a full set when you do the purchase. So you don't get more storage for buying 2. You just get, you will get more storage, but say, for example, you buy the Mechanized. Get 10 slots of shared account bank storage. It's the same storage offered along with 20 additional slots in the Superior. So if you buy the Superior after purchasing either a Greater or regular Mechanized Coffer, you'll get the 20 additional slots of shared account bank storage space, but not that 10 that you already got, because that's in the Mechanized Coffer that you purchase. You'll speak to Zienna and the first floor, the Eberron Hall of Heroes, to get your stuff. And the mount certificates will be immediately applied to your character when you log in for the first time after your purchase. So once you make your purchase, log out, log back in, and then the mount certificates and pet certificates will be automatically applied to your account. All right, before I wrap it up, let me go see if there's any final questions from Twitch chat. I should try summoning a hireling while on the flying carpet. It is a bit goofy. Unfortunately, I already killed my game client here, so I can't do that on stream. But I love the idea. I don't know what it does. Auto dismount in front of banks. I know that there are some folks who would like to see that. You could just hit shift if you want to do it. That's something we could consider in the future. You want a Funko Pop of the Groundbound Green Dragon mount? That sounds fun. Any teasers on what will be appearing in the Ultimate Expansion version of Myth Draenor? I really can't get into the packages about our tiers for Myth Draenor, but we'll have a lot more information very soon, including the website, the full list of things that are in it, anything you'll get right away, anything that'll be coming with the expansion. All that'll be answered real soon. I just can't really get into the details of that today. When will summer sales start for realsies? 30-35% sales are par for the course. Okay. I mean, I don't recall ever putting the mechanized patron coffer. That is not part of the regular rotation. So, okay. But to answer your question, there will be various levels of discount for various special items throughout the summer sales event. So, this is your first chance to get the mechanized patron coffer at a discount. And if you've already got it or you're less interested, well, stay tuned. Hopefully next week we'll have something that works more in your favor. The Myth Draenor Quest Axle will be coming in, most likely, I think, our next Lamania preview. I can't announce when that's going to be at this time. We're working on it. But I would expect to start to see some Myth Draenor content, like actual quests and such. The ability to see more of Myth Draenor for our next Lamania preview. Any word on the monster from the pole? I think I should probably leave that one a secret too. We did say we weren't going to announce it. I don't think I should announce it at the end of the show here, but you'll see it soon. Okay. Yes, any word on voice chat that someone is asking about in particular? That is something that we have spent much of this past week having a bunch of folks work on. There's actually 2 bits I could mention. So the voice chat is a pretty prevalent issue inside of the game since our most recent game update, where we included an update to the OpenAL sound driver. And we are working on a patch for the near future that will have an updated version of the OpenAL sound driver. So far, it appears that that work will correct the issue we have seen with voice chat, but we're still in the process of going through that work and checking it, so it's too early to declare victory at this point. But solving the voice chat issue that cropped up in recent days is absolutely a top priority for us. Belgaret, I don't know where that's coming from. No is the answer. Why does the store not allow upgrades to the patron coffers like the marketplace does for expansion editions? So you can purchase a higher tier coffer, but there is no discounted price for doing so. I would suggest buying the one you want at the start. But it is an option for you if you want to. You can purchase an upper tier after buying a lower tier and just pay the price of whatever the difference is. It's a choice we have made for commercial and business reasons, and adding upgrade paths tends to complicate things, particularly when you're dealing with things such as storage like that. Yeah, I think we're going to wrap it up then. Thanks so much for joining me here on Fridays at 4 on twitch.tv/DDOstream. We're live every Friday, starting at 4 p.m. on Twitch. You can find the full schedule of DDOstream on twitch.tv/DDOstream. If you're watching on YouTube afterwards, thank you so much for being here. Please consider giving us a like. Please consider giving us a subscription if you want to get these videos in your YouTube subscription feed. Have a great weekend, everyone. Talk to you all again soon. Bye-bye.